What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another week of NFL picks. Week 7. We're officially through the first third of the NFL season. We are quickly approaching the midway point of the season. Um, and really, this is where you see a lot of team season. The turning point is really coming up for a lot of these teams. Where are these teams going to be in December and January? The next few weeks are going to determine a lot of that. I'll say this week, I really feel like you got a good bit of 50-50 games. I think a lot of these games can go either way. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Last week went 9-6, which pretty all right. Would like to do a little bit better, obviously. Overall record 58-35. Lock of the week 5-1. That Bills game was a close one Sunday night. An upset of the week 2-4. Won the first 2 weeks on the upset of the week, but I've not gotten it the past 4 weeks. So starting off with the teams on bye weeks, got a lot of teams on bye weeks this week. The Cincinnati Bengals, they look like to finally be getting back on track. They've won 2 straight games. The Houston Texans, talk about the shocking season they've had with C.J. Stroud at quarterback. Tennessee Titans, really just a awful football team. The New York Jets, man, you thought, and now they're talking about Aaron Rodgers. He might be back week 15, week 16. You're talking about he's attempting to do something that's never been heard of in terms of returning from an Achilles injury that quickly. But, man, it looks like he might do it. And give credit to that Jets team. They fight with a lot of heart. The Dallas Cowboys, 4-2, obviously, just coming off a win versus the Chargers. And the 0-6 Carolina Panthers on a bye week. Play calling duties handed over to Thomas Brown. So Carolina's going to hope to come out of the bye and maybe make a little something out the season. If nothing else, try to win some games because you don't have a first-round pick. Chicago gets you first, so you really have nothing to lose in that aspect. So getting into the games this week, Thursday Night Football. The Jacksonville Jaguars, 4-2, go to the Superdome to take on the Saints. The big question heading into this one is, will Trevor Lawrence play? It's a short week versus an NFC opponent on the road, but I definitely think you're going to push for your franchise quarterback to play at any time. But one way or another, I really honestly feel like this is going to be a big game for someone like a Travis Etienne or someone like an Evan Ingram. That is really where I think you're going to make your money in this game when you're Jacksonville. And it's a tough one. In the Dome versus the Saints, coming off a loss, they're looking to get back in the win column. But what I will say is I do think that Jacksonville, I like their offense. Even though that Saints defense is really good, I do like Jacksonville's offense to come out and have their moments, especially a Travis Etienne. So I am going to go ahead and say Jacksonville wins. I do expect Trevor Lawrence to make a push to play, but even if they don't, I think C.J. Beathard is their backup quarterback, which obviously, he's a backup quarterback for a reason, but Jacksonville does have a lot of weapons. So I am going to go ahead and say the Jaguars go into New Orleans on Thursday night and get the win. Heading into the 1 o'clock window on Sunday, obviously not going to talk about too much about this game because Friday we're going to go all into it. Falcons and the Bucs. For us, it was a tough loss last week where we completely shot ourselves in the foot at home. Coaching is where it all starts. Ritter was not set up well, but also Ritter cannot make mistakes like that. Tampa Bay, they just got beaten up by the Detroit Lions, who I think it's pretty evident is at least the third best team in the NFC by this point in the season. You can maybe even argue they're better than that. I'll say this is going to be a nasty ball game. You're not going to see a lot of offense here. It is going to be defense. I don't see either team really cracking really much over 20 points, if even cracking 20 points. Man, I hate to do it, but in Tampa Bay, and I want to see the Falcons win. I see a lot of people confident. I want to buy into that, but I got to go with the Bucs right now because I do not have confidence in Arthur Smith to call a competent game after last week. I just think that's one of those that stings with you, and you would love to think they learn from their mistakes. And part of me honestly says the Falcons can definitely win this game. If we can come out and call a competent game plan, I think we can definitely win this game. But Tampa Bay's defense can also be very nasty. I think the most points they've given up this season was like 25 to Philadelphia. They're only averaging like giving up 17, 18 points a game. And when you're talking about a Falcons offense that can be very 50-50, that's not the best matchup. But I definitely think the defense keeps us in it. However, I think it's gonna be one of those where the offense is gonna struggle to get going. I went way too deep into it. You'll know more about it Friday. Maybe my thoughts will have changed by then. But right now, and I am gonna go ahead and say sticking with the Bucs pick. I am picking with Tampa Bay, although I do want my Falcons to win. All right, the 500 Las Vegas Raiders very quietly 3-3 at the abysmal Chicago Bears. This is a great opportunity for Vegas to get above 500 in the AFC and state that they're not completely out of it. But I mean, looking at these two, this is going to be another ugly game. The Raiders, all of their wins this season have not been impressive at all. They've beaten the Broncos, the Packers, and the Patriots. Broncos and Patriots are two of the worst teams in the NFL, and you really don't know with Green Bay. They did not look good in that game. So you would maybe think that this is an opportunity for the Raiders to slip their way above 500, but I honestly don't feel it, man. I think this is a game where I could very well see Chicago coming out and pulling off the upset, and I'm going to go ahead and pick it. I think the Bears will pull off the upset here, and I think they're going to beat the Raiders, man. I don't think the Raiders are that good of a team. And obviously the Bears are not, but I do think you're going to see times where they're going to attempt to try to get it going. And I think they'll do just enough ultimately to pull this one out. Next game, the Cleveland Browns at the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson is out for the entire season. And obviously it sucks, but that's what happens when you make ill-advised decisions when you have the football in your hands. Cleveland, they got, the upset of the year. They beat San Francisco with P.J. Walker as starting quarterback on Sunday. So I think Cleveland's going to ride that momentum into Indy, and I think they're going to pick up another win here. Predicated a lot off of really, I think they're going to play great defense. And I think I do think Jerome Ford has been doing all right for them, and Kareem Hunt as well. So it's going to be another one of those games, really like versus San Francisco. Won't be the prettiest game to watch. I ultimately see the Browns doing just enough to pick up the win here in Indianapolis. Getting to 4-2. Colts fall under 500. The Washington Commanders, whatever you want to call them, Redskins, at the New York Giants. The Giants played Buffalo awfully tough Sunday night, however you want to cut it. Maybe the Bills didn't take them serious, but they played that team tough. Washington, they came down here, capitalized off the Falcons shooting themselves in the foot, and they earned that win. We gave them that win, but they also earned it. Sam Howell did not look bad, even though he was sacked 5 times. He didn't look bad, but going to Washington, that O-line is still a big-time concern. And this is another one. I said a lot of these games are 50-50. This could go either way, but I feel in MetLife, I think the Giants, it's probably going to come down to the end, but I'm going to go ahead and say I think the Giants pull it off here, get the win. I think they're due for one at this point, so I'll go ahead and say the Giants get the win versus Washington, getting their second win of the year. Next game. Oh, man, this is going to be a good game. It might not have all the highlight and flashy plays in it, but man, this is going to be a good game. I'm telling y'all. The Lions and Ravens in Baltimore. The Lions ain't lost since week 2. They're on a 4-game winning streak. They have dominated teams that they faced. It might not be the easiest schedule, but they've dominated a lot of these teams they faced. Baltimore also 4-2. They haven't had the toughest schedule, but still, nonetheless, a battle between two. I mean, Detroit's definitely a heavyweight in the NFC. Baltimore, I don't know if I'll call them a heavyweight in the AFC, but they're a good team. So, but it's in Baltimore. And I do think the Lions, riding off a 4-game win streak, obviously, you have to be happy for those fans, for that organization. It's going to end at some point, and I think it probably will end here in Baltimore. I'll go ahead and say Ravens win. It could definitely be a defensive battle, in my opinion, because that's really, I think, what both these teams are built to do. But I'll go ahead and say Ravens get the win here. Next game. Oh, man. You're talking 4 or 5 years ago, maybe in the other direction we're talking about, but completely different. Buffalo and New England. The Patriots, I don't think many of us expected to live the day to where they looked this bad. We always talked about, when Tom Brady leaves, they're going to suck again. But now that it's happened to me, it's really honestly kind of shocking seeing them at that 1-5 record, even with Bill Belichick still there, especially. Buffalo, it's between them and Miami in the AFC East. And the Jets are there too, trying to make a wild card, but New England's just out of it. I think they're fully in the Caleb Williams, Drake May sweepstakes. And I think Buffalo is going to end up dominating them here. So I'll go with the Bills, second straight week, lock of the week. They almost let me down last week, so I'm going to go with them here again. But I think they come out and handle business. I think they'll absolutely dominate New England, even in Foxborough. So got to go with the Bills here. Next game, moving into the 4 o'clock window. The Arizona Cardinals and Seattle Seahawks. This could be a game where you can make the argument Seattle might be on upset alert. And I would maybe even think that one time myself. But also, I really feel like this is a game where you're going to definitely see, I think, the Seahawks, they're finding their rhythm, getting on track, obviously. They're going to be in that wild card race all season. Obviously, they're not winning that division, but they are a solid wild card team. Arizona, they've played with a lot of grit and a lot of might and a lot of heart, but they don't have the talent. So going into Lumen Field, it might be close for a little bit, but I'll ultimately say Seattle pulls it off here and moves to 4-2 on the season. Arizona moves to 1-6. Other 405 game, the Pittsburgh Steelers and LA Rams. Man, this is just, you're looking at these two records and you think it ain't going to be the worst game, but I just have a feeling this is going to be this could be one of those games where it's kind of hard to watch. Matt Canada in Pittsburgh, I don't get why he still has a job there because, you're hearing how bad it is. And I don't even watch the Steelers like that, but it's very bad. So going to LA, Rams. The Rams are also that team. Right now, I think I saw something. If the playoffs ended today, they'd be the 7th seed. So they're going to be there as well all season with Seattle. Obviously, I think Seattle, safer chance of making it, but the Rams are going to be right there in that race. So I'll go ahead and give the victory to Los Angeles here. Move over 500 and stay right in the thick of it in the NFC wild card race. All right, 425 window. The LA Chargers coming off a tough loss versus Dallas. It don't get any easier. I don't know if Taylor Swift's going to be in attendance, but it's in Arrowhead. Going to face Mahomes and Kelsey and the Chiefs. I definitely think the Chargers are going to be able to stay in it with that offense. Even though, yes, obviously that defense for Kansas City has definitely improved. I do think you're able to stay in it for the Chargers, and you might even have a lead at some point. But Kansas City, I ultimately feel is going to pull this one out. It's in Arrowhead. This, honestly, I was thinking for a minute, I might pick the Chargers here. I could see this being a 50-50 game, maybe even one of the Chargers pull out. Ultimately, got to go with the Chiefs here in this situation. I think the Chargers are getting ready to let go of Brandon Staley and go in a different direction as far as coaching goes. This game, oh my God, don't got a good feeling about this game and how this thing will look. The Packers and Broncos, man, this is going to be a tough watch, I think, for a lot of people. Green Bay, I mean, I really took a gamble thinking they were going to be a good team, maybe possibly make the playoffs and contend for that division. But, man, it doesn't look like that. It looks like they're headed on the downward trajectory. A lot of question marks about Jordan Love, and we know how awful the Broncos are. But ultimately, man, it is in Mile High, and I think that Green Bay is a team. Obviously, you hope they can come out their bye week and get back to 500, but it really feels like they're sputtering, and it feels like this is going to be a very sloppy win for Denver, in my opinion. I'm really honestly feeling it. I could definitely see Jordan Love going in there and making more mistakes, and I think ultimately the Broncos, it's probably going to 15 points. It might be 5 field goals for all we know, but I am going to actually pick Denver in this one to pull it off. Sunday Night Football. Talk about flipping the page. You went from what might be the worst game of the year to what might be, honestly, the game of the year. Miami and Philadelphia, 2 5-1 teams. Philadelphia suffered their first loss last week at the hands of the Jets. Man, tell you, this is going to be a very great game. No doubt, in my opinion, the best Sunday night game we have gotten so far. And Sunday night, I always feel, should be one of the best games, if not the best game of the week. So glad to see that this has worked out for the NFL schedule makers. I feel like offense is going to be a big story in this game. The Eagles just signed Julio Jones. So I think he should just go ahead and retire. But hey, I don't know what his goal is, if he wants to play for all 32 teams or not. But one way or another, I think it's going to be offense. But ultimately, I do think Miami is going to pull this one out. It should say game of the week. I think everyone knows this is game of the week. This might end up being game of the year. But I'm going to go ahead and say Miami, no doubt, game of the week. Going to end up being a thriller in South Philly. Going to go out and get the win against the Eagles. Moving to 6-1 on the season, man. And then Monday night, the San Francisco 49ers and the Minnesota Vikings. This is honestly a game where you look and say San Francisco, great opportunity for them to just roll over Minnesota. But it also feels like Minnesota is trying to fight to somehow keep their season alive here. I have a feeling the Vikings might be able to keep it a close game. But also San Francisco is pissed off after what happened in Cleveland on Sunday. So I think they're going to come out, smack the Vikings in the mouth. They'll probably begin that fire sale, Danielle Hunter, Marcus Davenport. I'm telling you, I'll talk about it probably in a video. I might do it next week. But I'm thinking about doing a little video. But you're talking about, man, Minnesota, it's been such a disappointing season, but it no doubt feels like the 49ers are going to pick up the win here. So with that being said, that's my week 7 picks. And yeah, so we are definitely, the weeks are flying by. And we're definitely getting closer and closer and closer to starting to talk about the playoff race for a lot of these teams that are in it. So with that being said, I'll see you guys Friday for the Falcons Bucks preview and predictions. Don't plan on doing anything until then. So until then, see you guys.